The content you are about to watch is meant for thought and consideration. Please be respectful of each other and opinions shared. This is a safe space to express thoughts, ideas, and information. The views and opinions expressed by individuals in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of every speaker of the IMEC organization or its affiliates. P.S. The Mandela effect is real.
So I am going to introduce our next presenter for our presentation for IMEC 2020. I'm just going to read from this. Sean Bond. Sean Bond is a good friend of mine. He's also the founder of Silver Cord Spiritual Science and the Psionic League. He is a psychic, psionic specialist, and healer with a vast skill set, which includes tapping into the quantum database of Earth's Akashic records, accessing past life knowledge, skill sets, and dormant abilities. Sean is a psionic specialist. What does psionic mean? Psionic means the practical use of psychic powers or paranormal phenomena. Sean can assist in creating operating systems to help individuals manifest dormant abilities that unlock their psychic potential and upgrade the body's energy systems. Everyone embodies spiritual technology, which encompasses an infinite scope of possibilities, such as connecting the individual with their spiritual entourage, their higher selves, Great Spirit, the Creator, Earth Mother's realms, and other expressions of themselves throughout time and space to resolve issues and exchange wisdom, knowledge, and skill sets. Everyone is born with a unique skill set of gifts just waiting to be unlocked. Sadly, most people go their entire lives without opening their own presence. Anybody in need of help and assistance, especially targeted individuals, Sean says, I have the tools to help you. So Sean's presentation is entitled Lucidity in This Dream. The idea of lucidity in this dream has the power to unite science and spirituality, bring magic into our lives, and deliver tools that we need to succeed in life and manifest our dreams. With these tools, we can transform ourselves and environment regardless of what situation we're born into or we find ourselves in. We can reclaim our freedom and sovereignty and break through any perceived limitations with courage to find truth. Are you ready to form your own rabbit hole and quantum jump to being the greatest version of yourself? Now, I will say that Sean's presentation was originally 2 hours long. We had that reduced to about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And what we can do is we can post his entire presentation in a separate video. So when you watch this presentation, those of you that are against new ways of thinking and expansion of consciousness may not resonate with it. You might think it's too new age for you. But for those of you like myself that have had their spiritual awakening started with the Mandela effect, you're really going to enjoy this presentation. It's packed with information about our reality or dream. And you're probably going to want to watch it more than once just to pick up everything that Sean's talking about. You'll see just the graphics that he uses in the back and so forth, just packed with information. About 3/4 of the way in, Sean reads into the Mandela effect regarding Dolly from the James Bond movies and how she went from having braces to not having braces. And what does that mean? What does healthy teeth have to do with it? What's the meaning of teeth and how teeth are related to time and time travel? It's all really fascinating. With that said, I welcome you to the year 2020 and to the new age. Everything is changing. If you haven't realized that already, just stay tuned. The world is going to change even more. And now I present to you Sean Bond and Lucidity in the Dream.
let's get into some timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. So, I'm Sean Bond. This is Lucidity in This Dream. Reality Warping 101, How to Quantum Jump. So, a little bit about me, in my background. Oh, and just so you know, if you're listening to this or watching this, I'm emitting free spiritual upgrades and DNA codes. So to those that want it, I recommend watching all the way through. You'll get a lot. Even if you don't recognize exactly what's going on or the information, your higher self will integrate it and you will become more. So, going into this, I was born in Delaware. This world does not have certifications for what I do. The lost wisdom retrieval kind of concept I'm going into is going into the library of DNA records light held in magnetized wormholes that records everything that's ever happened to you, and your DNA lineage, ancestry, memories recorded, and then that as a supercomputer accessible. And I teach others how to do this, and so you can come to me if you want to learn how to do that. I've been hired as an assistant to the president and CEO of Next Software Food Distribution, and I work with Chris Sinatra, the quantum businessman. I've also been certified as a massage therapist artist. I learned how to DNA program, got into learning time and space physics, and then learned how to repair that for a person's timeline into existence to get rid of things that want to take them in a whole nother direction that they don't want to do in self-defeating programs, and then get them in alignment with the path they choose. I am a psionic specialist. Psionics is a fancy military term for their accumulation of knowledge and wisdom throughout the ages for psychic abilities. I don't really like the word psychic because it's been associated with things that scientism, skepticism has called quackery. So I like to dance around their trigger words. Superhuman abilities in the accumulation the military has, so anyone that says this isn't real, go talk to the military. Reiki Master I've also been certified in, and craniosacral, therapeutic pain releasal, negative emotion release. I have gotten really popular for learning how to release pain from people over a distance, so I don't need to even be there, and I can help people with debilitating back pain, chronic and acute pain issues in really any form. Headache, really good at, even to the bone pain, which is harder, and I'd rather be in person for that. I am also the founder of psionicleague.com, which is a forming group of like-minded people to bring this out to the world and empower in every way. I also have been hired by Earth Mother to protect the planet from incursions in the timeline, and I communicate with other beings of this nature in the timeline protective collective consciousness. And if you want to know more about that, contact me. Everyone believes they know what truth is, and I'm not here to tell you what truth is. It's literally for everyone to find. I'd get in trouble with my guides if I told you what truth is. Everyone's is a little different, but the grand, deep, objective truth holds all perspectives in oneness and unity. And I started to gather accumulations of truth and proof of these things that I've experienced that others don't find are real, because I felt like I needed to. And I went through all the types of things in the gauntlet of skepticism, skeptics, skeptactyl.com, skeptics.com, all these kind of paid these websites. I love skepticism. I don't like corporate paid hijacked, paid to disprove something skepticism, because that isn't based on truth. It's not even based on what the person wants. It's what they're paid to do. Then I found out there's a suppression for powerful truths, and felt a deep urge in my being, my core, to look past these veils. The establishment seems to be suppressing psionic evidence in videos. They say that this energy is not observable and therefore not science. It is absolutely observable. There's things absolutely that exist. There's hairy old field filters, there's Cohen photography, there's many different spectrums of the electromagnetic spectrum, even beyond what dinosaur mainstream media talks about, that we have the ability to make technology to analyze. And so it seems more that the reasons they want to suppress it is because of the power it brings people. Certain dark chess players on this planet want to accumulate power and keep power out of the hands of ordinary people, so they maintain it. Psionic abilities threaten the power of those that have not truly earned their power by stealing it by force. I have a playlist now of over hundreds of demonstrations of abilities that people have learned and grown. So yes, absolutely it can be faked. And that happens all the time, and people do pranks and things under tables, and it's absolutely a thing people fake. But all you need is one real one, and I've got examples of hundreds. Please try to debunk it. I will be putting that playlist out more, but if you want to look it up, it's under Chi, Ether, and Quantum Field Mastery on YouTube. Imagine, if you will, the planet awakening and experiencing a shift of consciousness so great that governments around the world conduct psychological warfare on their own citizens in an attempt to control them by lowering their vibrations, keeping them in a constant state of fear. So I reverse engineer abilities. The way I do this is the body emits biophotonic energy that is a blueprint of everything you hold in your DNA, and it also gives you a synopsis of the person, and these can also travel through what's recorded in data in a photo of a person, because the light is captured. This biophotonic quantum supercomputer body scans the blueprints of abilities demonstrated previously and records it. I pick up that to-do list through my ability to read internal books and data in my DNA library to go into a to-do list of how to form the new ability. And I also go through mystery schools internally for that ability, which is like you going into a flow of the source of the knowledge and information and being taught by it, whether it be through a guide or the information coming right into your head. You getting inspirational thought is like a slow way of seeing this. Knowingness, downloading, translations, doing what it takes to make it so, and many more is how I get to the core of the goal of the ability and what it takes to form it. As an example in these slides, epigenetics is a form of you taking the driver's wheel of your genetics, realizing it's not just a random events, these DNA changes, and that you can change your own DNA through sound, light, vibration, words, intention, emotion. Many different types of energy, cosmic energy changes DNA, Schumann resonance. So many things can affect our DNA, especially if we have a goal and intention and we see what it needs and takes to unlock it and the keys. Also going into types of energy, we have different types of energy bodies that I call as a filing system way of categorizing the technology we have, such as dreaming body, astral body, etheric body, mental body, emotional body, all that kind of ways to describe something that you can narrow down to what that is specifically and then start working on to make it better. And by the way, as an example of some of the abilities I teach, I'm a healer, so I got into advanced quantum energy healing of the fractal layer of frozen light hologram of a person and bringing it to a greater order and health. I got into reading DNA, the spirit, and the Akashic record. I learned reverse engineering abilities, remote viewing, military program absolutely exists, psychic tracking, the police hire people to do this for finding lost people. Telepathy, I teach people how to do heart telepathy, and it goes into a deeper form of different bandwidths on the station. Vision work and journeying. Lucid dreaming, I help people with that. Bilocating during dreams, so you can see yourself shift in and out of different dreams at once. internal nexus point of the third eye, being able to go into all the doors in the mind and consciousness and DNA and internal mystery schools. Advanced body diagnostics to see what's going on in the body and if there's anything that needs your attention. DNA programming and healing, telekinesis, as well as using the force, magic, reality warping, divine, divinity path energy if one wants to go into that, and many, many more. So here's what we're all for, the Mandela effect. How I got into this. I read into Mandela effects in their causation and their meaning. My experience with them is mostly personal ones, like changes of objects around and places, and me being like, oh, wasn't that there before, or in that neighborhood? Oh, that's completely different. Me just brushing aside usually until I found out more about this kind of thing. In my childhood, the neighborhood changed when I went back to it. Houses changed, but like a little bit more than that. Like the meadow was gone, the forest wasn't there, and I was like, did I make that up? And then also things like when big things happened, the room around me, I would get to detach from the rest of the hologram, becoming kind of in a hidden space. I did hidden in time and space. I did this to protect me from beings that were attacking me in spirit. I was like, I was figuring out how they knew about me and how they were able to find me if they're doing it from a distance. And then I learned how to cut that off and go into camouflage, and the attacks cease, the emotions disperse, the anxiety, the pain go away. And then I learned how to steer it like a ship, becoming extremely sensitive to emotions and translating that data, clearing up the timeline and up and down, micro, macro, and training my way up through the school of consciousness timeline travel. My name is Bond, Sean Bond. Here's a meme going into a change having to do with the movies for 007 or James Bond into Dolly, where she used to have braces and now somehow she doesn't. And there was a whole joke that I remember having to do with the braces that doesn't make any sense right now. So it's a little concerning about that, but when I read into it, it seems like a better timeline change. Teeth. For me, in my experience with teeth, I used to have agonizing, even without cavities, pain of the nerves just flaring up to like torturous levels, and that would not go away for days. And nothing I did or took in medicine would make it go away. So that kind of forced me to learn how to release pain. And until I actually did that stuff, it would not go away. But it would go away when I worked on it energetically enough, which is interesting. It forced me to learn all these different methods to release a large amount of pain. Time. Okay. So teeth are like indications of your timelines. Everything you've ever eaten has touched your teeth and gone into the makeup of your hologram. So they touch every atom that goes into the making of you in the atomic field. They're like time crystals. They condense a lot of that in a filing system that you can observe. And if you're getting teeth pain, it'll usually mean time incursions, and that you can clear your timeline and that pain will start going away. So the timeline change having to do with Dolly is that the braces come off, that the timeline is much more pure, much more in order, and these are indicated by little changes in the existing structures of the timeline, such as what the movie had in effect to change in it. So her teeth are better than they were in the previous timeline. It's about 5 times, this represents macroly, where 5 times more secrets come out to the public than on the previous timeline. going into the concept of James Bond and secret agent and spy missions that the public never hears about, as an example. And that's traded for the joke not making sense and it being pointed out on the reality change. And there being residual bleed over still existing. I've also had the humanitarian mission to help the planet grow and flourish. The Mandela effect is a ability in reality warping that goes into doing just that for either light or the dark. Large amounts of time I've put into the ability to manifest, training how to release fertility blockages and wounds in the DNA, keeping a species from thriving more and breeding and being able to have more numbers out in the world in my attempt to bring those being back from the brink of extinction. Consciousness time travel, so some animals thought to have been extinct, boom, back. Some examples of the image on these slides. Blue bees. I love them, and I hope they're more into flourishing. Whales are making a big rebound. The Tasmanian tiger is now not extinct anymore and has been seen once again. The Mandela effect for tigers, somehow they have a white spot on their ear that just seems weird when you look at it. But they're also rebounding. They're having more numbers, which I've absolutely been a part of the collective into that because I love tigers. Types of jumping ceremonies, as long as it's a sacred activity and you love doing it, it's can be gone into combination with quantum jumping. Dancing is a really good way. Singing, vision work, feeling deeply, casting spells, meditation, yoga, exercise, sexuality, dreaming, astral travel, ceremony of different types, movement, stillness, being present. Doing what you love is the best way for you to create magic. Make your own structures of sacred actions. Make a better spiritual version of every action you do in ceremony. Brushing your teeth, waking up in the morning, all these are actions that we're going to constantly use. Bring Psionics into this in some way. Like I turn my toothbrush into a way that cleans my timeline every time I do it. As an example. Another forms that you can bring into this is like when you're reaching out for a timeline you want to bring in, lassoing it in or harpooning, anchoring in, pulling in that timeline, and having that in your trajectory going forth, no matter what anything wants to make your trajectory. How to quantum jump. First step, quantum unentanglement. Detachment is the process of enlightenment in India and Tibet. To achieve light body and transformation into the rainbow body and dragon body, Buddha body, which is essentially them mastering past death and continuing in immortal, a beyond immortal state. Unmanifest, remanifest body in light somewhere else. And there's many examples of this that have been recorded. Detach from old timeline, habit patterns, energy, program, emotion, personality traits, interpretation of events with emotion. Detach from this. You can detach and unify at the same time. To do this, it's like you know what you're detaching from, which is separation consciousness, what's not you, what you're ready to let go of, things that are imprinting on you, non-unity, non-love, and going into the center of your heart, embracing unity consciousness in love and the rest of the universe, your source. It's kind of like becoming the fullest, purest version of yourself deep within by letting go of the 99 added stuff, shedding the old skin, or becoming the butterfly. Detach separation consciousness, embrace the unity consciousness in the center of the heart, source connection. Detach observer effect to empower garden of all potentialities to have a output. Schrodinger's cat box jumping ship. How about you guys? Is that how you remember the spelling of Schrodinger? To me, it looks a little weird. Either way. So you form your own Schrodinger's cat box. Detach your bubble of reality. House, room, if you're in the bath or your bed, meditation chamber, whatever you're using, from what is beyond the horizon of the seen to unseen. Steer that ship course of reality bubble to the direction of the destination, making leaps, bounds, and jumps till you reach your goal. And some of the things into this, the cat in the box, is it alive or dead? You won't know until you open the box, because the observer can change the outcome of the experiment. And that's within all possibilities and our ability to bring forth more likelihood of the possibility we want to see. Go back to the realm of all potentials, void, womb space of all creation, time streams, network of all potential timelines. Every choice point, every decision, every possibility, mirrored, branching tree of time bubbles, center points, you being all of them. Detach previously held potentials you don't want to anchor to you. Center into the infinite of all potentials as if you are charging up for whatever you want. Clearing the quantum field of all potentials in resistance to what you want. Clear, resolve evil, unbalance, self-defeating potentials, and bring peace to all of them. Bringing into focus of infinite potential of whatever you want to do, what it takes to become that in unity, what it takes to become true. All the options creating, all the fractals of source of all energy, full spectrum light, creating as many things as possible, to learn as much as possible, to know thyself and the universe, free will, all of creation backing you. Bubble holding streams, all connecting in Indra's web. Find the reality timeline you wish to be on. Imagine creating space in the creational womb. A TV screen that allows the image to flow and appear without you forcing it. Vision board gets into helping amplify vision if it's not as strong, or if there's wounds in the imagination that happened to us as we were growing from being a kid. As a programmer, a reminder, vision boards help you every day know what your goal is, and then put it into your subconscious and help you manifest it. Releasing expectations that want to force or control what manifests. If you release expectations, that goes into allowing the possibility that there's an even better potential in unity, and being that reality you want, and cultivating that. See the paradise in the future that could be, and make that as HD as possible in your mind, and give it understanding, and then bridge that understanding of what that goal takes to get there, so that unfolds in your knowingness, so you're living that action daily and emanating that change out into the world, being the change you want to see. Be the new timeline and detach from the old. Feel into what is truth in moment and held in the hologram in time, which might contain the nightmare of things that we don't want to be, which brings us to want to change or want to change things. Feel into the pressure of the negative, undesired timeline. Feel that weight on the heart. Release as you breathe slowly, deeply, to full pressure in your lungs. You may hold this for around, or more or less around 13 seconds is good as an example, but as long as you can without harming yourself. To give pressure of what is needed to transform and let go of. Pressurizing the chi and the oxygen in your lungs, distributing to the rest of your body to empower it, and to even create a stimulation of an altered state of consciousness that can only be accessed in creating light in that deep breath work. The quantum observer effect, going into that, and how you can change the outcomes by what you observe. Focus on the imagined timeline. Be one with the timeline merge, wholeness, oneness. focus on it until full confidence in the release of the old and all doubt that you hold that it's not there anymore. Detach and reclaim stolen energy supporting negative control systems of their timeline of, like, as an example, debt slavery continuation, oppression, depopulation, or whatever. Imagine full and create paradise, heaven, utopia on earth, and what that feels like, and get inspirations on how to bring that closer as an example of back and forth. And once you have your vision of what to create, next to work on is foundational energy. Foundation is very important. As in the slide, if the building is strong but the foundation is weak, it doesn't really matter. It will still mess up its existence in the future. Similar to like a pyramid and how strong it is and lasting through time. Having a strong base that supports it, building up from that. There's going into founders of things, of energy, of consciousness, of places and territory, and the authority that goes with that. Strong foundation, earning, strong foundation. You have an actual form of energy in the root going into this, and building that up in consciousness and energy and compression to where it can support greater levels of consciousness that you accumulate. Foundation of the new timeline is what you're creating. Strong. Foundational energy, what I've found, is usually a combination of source energy, love, and holistic full spectrum root energy, all combined to one. Forms base reality and other founder realms for this earth, and like her coming into existence and making from the ground up what would be in the space. Safety energy, you can go into this through 0 point of creation healing at its origin and source, and giving it what it needs, usually like love and wholeness. There's an elder version of yourself in soul, like the higher self kind of thing, but going back, that you can work with an ancient soul family in unity and learn from them and how to get better at foundational energy from foundational teachers. And so as an example, to grow a good structure, it needs a strong foundation, strategy, objectives, structure, system, process, action. Even negative structures need a strong foundation to be able to last through time, such as the structures that are built up off the backs of people for this society. Will it into being is a ability into the willpower you have in your solar plexus, your center point, your sun, that can shine brightly or dim, based on how you feel in your free will and your willpower to do what you want to do this life, and not letting that be taken by others. It has a form of energy, and you can accumulate it to where it's a great strength. You'll see this in people with big wills and determination, dedication, and action-oriented people. Will harvesting system removals, there's a lot of things that want to steal our energy, and as you remove those, then you get more accumulating. Put will towards your manifestation. The solar plexus is your internal star, how bright it is, and it can actually be represented by how real stars work in color spectrum, from like black, brown, red, orange, all the way up to like really white and blue, being very energetic. As an example of how you shine deep within. You don't want to force it to be a color, you want to actually read what it represents in factuality of what you feel, and then work on it being better. It can actually burn your negative programs as like firewood and use that to strengthen it. Throw the blocks into the sun. Different types of will. There's your I am will, which is the perceiver, the conscious being of the spirit, your will. Your ego's will, which may be a little different. The ego is what you believe you are this lifetime, the survival mechanisms that keep you going. It's very self-defeating programs we've inherited from our DNA, though. The higher self will, the earth's will, source's will, infinite fetus's will, the contracts for experience you have this lifetime, and the unity collective will all together, and what they're working towards. You can create unity will agreement portals in energy towards desired outcome. I go into portals in other presentations, so I don't have to really go into that here. It's a way gate that allows things to travel through it like energy, and it's much easier to create energetic ones in the unseen, but they can be, and they have physically. There are unity will expanding light tracks through all united sources and bringing them together, feeling them, bringing polarized will to balance, being will and what it takes to become truth. Power, empowerment, like an expanding, burning power, starlight power, pulse, ember, flame. It's also in your solar plexus. Power energy generator fountains, turning those on, well springs in the star. What is your source of power? Going deep into that, not being afraid. One of the biggest things we fear is that we're more powerful than we could ever imagine. And going deep into facing that fear will go into you embracing more of your power and the responsibility that comes with it, so that you can either, use it for good or the other way. You usually lose it, though, if you're doing it for negative purposes. You can also revisit powerful incarnations you've had and re-merge with them and bring them into the now. Power amplifying DNA lineages that go into what we've inherited through our ancestry and its technology, and activating that. Places of power all around. Going to these places, we seek them out. Mountains, journeys, vision quests, they add greatly to our life, and more so in the unseen, when we know what we're getting from those places. There are also those types of places of power in dream that you can go to in astral, and that adds the Kundalini Dragon Force power. That is a energy current that comes up from the earth's heart, goes into the root, and stimulates a part of your own consciousness to rise a frequency of current to your cranium to empower all your neurons and increase mental power. You bring these up like currents of energy, and there's ones for different types. You can have small little Kundalini activations, or you can have big ones that explode many currents all at once. It's part of you and earth, and the snake symbolism, you don't have to be afraid of. It's just a representation of the movement that it goes in up the spine. Superpowers, those are fun. Another good, more accurate way to describe what superpowers are the word wholeness powers. So when you bring a power in yourself to full wholeness, especially when it's a very advanced ability, then it will be known as a superpower that you're able to hold, maintain, and keep going and train to be better. It has to do with your own ability, awareness, state of being, consciousness, manifestation, being now. One of these is from the recent protests. As an example of power, power comes from unity. If you were to examine the people that claim to have power or in darkness and separate them and put them in a room by themselves, what power do they really have without other people to control or influence or dominate? So it's an illusion, that type of power, and it only goes through the consent of those other people. And real power comes from the unity of multiple states of consciousness agreeing towards one focus. This is what propelled all of our society. Next layer to amplify your quantum jump is going into magic. Not magic with the C, but magic with a K. Is how you search for real magic through the muck of tricks. It's a neutral tool of super manifestation. It's the user that makes it light, neutral, or dark. Most of the surviving magical texts now are external magic, though. They don't really go into your internal magic as much. And they're also mostly neutral and dark because of the corrupted society, the destruction of wisdom teachers, and how the mystery schools have come today. But the technology and awareness they bring out is still valuable. All dark can be transmuted into light, because it is just lack of light, with balance and understanding, not to impose on the free will of others, and be aligned with natural law, which is observable and can always come back to, which is like the golden rule: do no harm, but take no shit. Protect your rights. The divine feminine aspect and the divine masculine, to not harm others and protect yourself. Do not harm goes into do not steal, do not take life, all these different spectrums. Seeing yourself as the other being. People that have cut off themselves from seeing that and gone into ego have taken it into a dark state of being. Part of the process for quantum jumping is gathering enough magic and energy to perform and manifest a desired outcome. Charging up that magic in an activity that you've created, such as a ceremony or ritual, and a magic eruption from yourself, or like how the external magic brings up from other places, explosion force. Releasing blocks is one of the ways how you increase your magic. The magic body mostly is blocked in most people, but some people it's pouring a little bit of units of energy every now and again. And sometimes we have guides as well that help support us. You'll find blocks, lessons having to do with abuse from it in the past. There are generators for magic in the body, mostly in the solar plexus. For those that want to unlock their magic body, please see me. I can help with that. Everyone's dealing with different things. A lot of these are examples like magic blocks, lessons we have to go through based on abuses we've done with it in the past. Magic does not want to be used to harm people, and the light and neutral aspect will stop working with the being when they start abusing and doing harm. Generators are in the body. There are also places of power that we can go to, like well springs and plumbing of magical energy that springs up from the Earth's heart. These will be coming more online as Earth is coming out of the state where she took a big wound, had to go in a little bit of a coma for a bit, and in the dark ages, and then came out of that as if she's healing herself, and we're cells of her healing ourself, healing her healing us. And as she is able to rise back into her power, more of these places of power will activate, as well as grid workers will go and activate them for her, and more magic will return to the world. There are also places of power for magic in dream and astral, of course, and then crystals you can find that are specifically good for magic. There's a rare different types. Not all crystals are good for this, but they are good for learning things that you want to program them. Some are better at other tasks than others, but that you can teach any one of them to learn something. They record everything that's happened around them, terabytes of data. It's all our technology, TV, computers, silicone chips. Radio is a crystal. It gains its power from a crystal with a copper wire wrapped around it with intense pressure to create piezoelectric effect. It makes it emit more of a frequency. There are objects of power also that exist. You can find them. Some are in museums and have been created by advanced sculptors or smiths. And there are also those in the energetic form that you can find in dream. Creating psionic amplifiers. There are these devices the military have created, as well as devices inventors have found to increase our energetic field and our health and how well we perform. Those will all go into amplifying these states as well. Objects of power, like magic amplifiers. As an example of this, if you were to find a tree hit by lightning, that tree would have taken the energy throughout its entire being and then locked that in as a form of power. Intensely amplifies any energy that flows through it, and you can use that as like a wand or a staff, as an example. There's also going into magic circles or using sacred geometry, sigil magic, creating light in your mind and forming things with that and overlaying that with the body are examples. In whatever sacred activity you can go, you can introduce magic into it, especially when your current, your wellspring of energy is flowing and you're producing a certain amount of units of magic an hour or second, whatever. Use the Force, Luke. This goes into things that have been soft disclosed in our culture, having to do with the Force, things that make things happen, move. This goes into another form of reality warping with it. Ways to do this: meditation, breath work, dance, emotional intensity, vision quest journeying can amplify your Force energy. It's also in the solar plexus as its own thing. It's mostly you'll see it work in telekinesis and actually like positive, negative, neutral forms of force, like we know about the negative form that where somebody is forced against their will kind of thing. but that's an example of energy that's going through a person's body and bringing them into action. It can be, again, like in the Jedi and the Sith concept, neutral, positive, and negative. It's a tool, and based on the user, how it's used. Jedi soft disclosure, the training involved in that, very well spoken. Included Baby Yoda in there, so hope that gives me points. You have a force body, there's mystery schools, there's missions you can do for more increase in your activations. Missions for like Earth as an example, you can ask what she wants to increase your force. Solar force, galactic force, universal, you can unite with all these flows of the universe, become one with them, reach out, grab them as if you can touch them and feel deeply into them, be them. Retrieving stolen force power generators, a very sought after energy, which is why your abilities get shut down if you're having your ability stolen. So if you're able to protect it, it's able to increase. Why power retrieval? Parts and energy reclaiming, parts of consciousness, be the force. There's also rare DNA lineages that you can open and activate to this. The mitochondria are a soft disclosed concept in Star Wars, the metachlorian cover. This also covers concepts of microflora that are very energized batteries that you can unify with, like elemental bacteria that have learned how to eat and make different types of elemental matter a part of their being, and that go into their form of energy that they have flow through their being that you can sync together. There are force energy generators, of course, force place power, force guides that you can talk to. Qigong goes into this, energy storage, bringing all that energy into Dantian of yang and yin qi together in unity. That like brings forth the telekinesis, the force. Big qi. Little qi is organs that produce your body qi. Big qi is the ocean of qi that surrounds us everywhere, that you tap into in the 0 point of energy in your heart and bring in the force of the universe in oneness. And doing this through love, action, dance is the first way I found out how to do this. Feeling abundance, compassion, going with flow, and it just emanating excitement is how you know when the universal big chi is coming in and wanting to be a part of you. It is consciousness, so you have to express yourself in a way where it want to be a part of you, and everyone likes a good party. Accumulate enough force energy to do the job. And I also got, again, chi, ether, quantum field mastery, if you want to go into these subjects and learn and see an example of a blueprint of people using these abilities that are not fake, but there are, of course, fake ones. There are also paid disinformation corporate skeptics. The government does not want this information public. They do engage with it. The Russians engage with it. They had to learn how to do that back and forth. Heart. The heart's shedding of its skin and heart walls. It's like a love level up to pure version of what's needed to jump more successfully and with greater force. It requires a leap of faith through the eye of the needle on the leapfrog game of invisible floating platforms, stepping stones over the ravine of failure and doubt, of heart wounds. For those that want to go deeper into their heart, before they can, they must let go of everything preventing them from going through the eye of the needle, their source connection, their true self. It's kind of like an arches, symbolically in Mr. Schools, the arches with the sphinxes initiating who can pass through and saying who can't and who's not ready. To the luminous ocean of oneness, bliss, being, stillness, silence of the mind, and infinite wisdom just flowing that comes without any effort at all. And each time you wish to access this mode of consciousness, it asks you to let go of deeper and deeper anchors in culture, the ego, identity. That is a process going back to your original greater existence, pure source, self. The goal is to learn how to do this, then maintain it for longer periods of time, and then learn how to continue it into waking state or even go deeper, eventually transmuting your body with source energy and being your infinite creator self. It's also the great work, your ascending timeline. Many words to describe this. The heart wall and trapped emotions forms around our heart in time of trauma. We put traumas into little boxes that we're not ready to handle so we can take care of them later. And they will keep reverberating through our timeline, asking us to heal them until we're ready to. The heart wall is you. Hug yourself. Generate love. Give it all it needs to become love power, to be whole. Tear down that wall into love power. Transmute the heart wall into love power and love resilience. Heart walls are also a good metaphor for what we're facing in the world. If you were to examine the concepts of both protesters and cops, there's a wall between them dividing them, and there's a wall around each individual's heart that keep them from being able to feel and empathize with each other. You can feel some of these heart wall layers as an actual connection to something you feel in your environment, such as someone else that you're facing, that such as the wall of cops. If you're able to feel into that heart wall, see it as yourself, give it what it needs in wholeness and love, and transmute it into its greater state of being, the wall comes down and it turns into heart empowerment that allows the heart's light to flower out, allowing emotions of love to connect between individuals, to reach the hearts of the police, to be able to realize, we are you, please stop this action, let us come together and solve these problems, as an example. In the slides, there's like layers of the pericardium. They're metaphorical for many layers of the heart, and it holds water sacs that can be programmed as water, and some of our trauma will be stored there. This will also go into our auric field light emission of biophotons held in electromagnetic field and is programmable, and this will hold negative data that we can clear up through shining that light within. Let out your emotion of love. Empathic abilities for all the empaths out there, I can relate. I had it turned all the way up and it's been horrible at times, but also amazing at other times. And one can balance this to where there is no negative experience and it's all love coming in with full translation, because that's what the heart and emotional body is. The ability to translate any data of energy coming to your heart and then have it come up as intuition, as well as understanding and knowing others deeply. Excitement, bliss help this greatly. Amplifying this as a part of your equation in quantum jumping, the emotions are very important. Bliss indicates how much charge and energy you're attracting to your field, which is why people seek out bliss and things that create bliss and activities and friends and the bar and music. It adds to our life force and extends our life the more bliss we have. Ways to cultivate this: breathe deeply, holding in like 13 seconds more or less, and cultivating it like you're creating a star in your heart and loving yourself. You can also hug yourself going into it. Self-love is the foundation of all, and even if you're having a really bad time, it will get you out of anything. Strong emotions make strong magic. Emotional wholeness, healing fractures and aspects to our soul and consciousness, and separation is a good way to heal emotional trauma and where it's coming from. A lot of the things we feel are things coming back to us and integrating, or things already inside us coming to wholeness and working in a better flow, and it coming up on the dashboard of the heart like, oh, here, you're ready to face this now, and then you move on to the next in a growing stage. Pure love from different sources. Having these are such a gift, and as you establish more, the more love that comes in your life. Forming them for love for yourself, the foundation of all love. If you don't love yourself, how can others love you? Love from your source, your eminence, the source within all sources that connects everything. Lovers, soul partners, Earth Mother, other planets, stars, galaxies, universes, angels, heaven realms, love dimensions, wisdom holders of love, soul family, and other versions of self are great beings to start with in connecting this orchestra of love energy coming and going. But there is also love with strings attached, and so you want to work in a level of balanced oneness that does not have intention or seek to control, and not work with love with strings attached, and going into purity, oneness, source, empathy, love, connection through them, and not needing to go through the external means. There are different levels for the words love. Greek has like a bunch, but there should honestly be more. There are also rare DNA lineages that have advanced love technology that can amplify things as we go into them, such as like beings that have cultivated that their whole life, had a huge heart activating moment that changes the whole DNA and then pass that down. Even things we've heard in mythos, such as goddesses of love and things. Sometimes people inherit those DNA lineages. You can also look into the percentage of love you have for yourself and are permeating in love in your cellular being. When you're first born, it should be 100%. And if there's no traumas, and at birth there usually is, it will continue. But usually the traumas keep us from emanating that from our source of love, of coming into creation. So once we heal those traumas, it flows more readily, and increasing that percentage back to 100%. Resolving blocks made with your stolen authority. Barely anything can stop love other than your own authority. And if it gets stolen, then it will usually go into make you, oh yeah, you totally agreed to make this heart block that shuts your heart down for a certain amount of time. Open your heart, resolving drama in the safety feeling, opening up with confident protection and resilience as you train those layers of your reality to where you're ready to open your heart, hugging yourself, giving those aspects of yourself that don't have love what they need to be whole. Every aspect of the universe externally that you hate, you also hate about yourself. Find those, use those as examples to find the parts of your body that don't have love within. Give them attention and fill them with love. Be a loving star burning bright in your heart, brighter and brighter, wholer and wholer, holy. Vision. Imagine all the people. Imagination. Whole and pure, centered and bright. In this part of quantum jumping, vision is very vital. As you create your ship, navigate through time-space, have a quantum tunneling effect that brings you like a Rosen bridge. If you want to get really scientific with it, rose pattern wave fields are the best for packing and unpacking energy data in making these tunnels. And your goal is to create a kind of warp drive effect into getting you there, into that point in time, that moment, that manifestation that you're wanting to jump to for yourself or the timeline. Also goes into empowering vision, doing vision quests, training it. It's literally a muscle. Without the training the imagination, it gets weak and less HD, less bright. There's also wounds that will happen, like fear, and as we really face that fear, it will get more bright. Vision quests of you jumping over to timeline desired and you playing out the various timelines aloud without expectation. Allowing visions and oracle predictive models of hints on how it will play out and the best actions and course for you to take as your unseen side of your like higher self handles the manifesting in the background for you. And the slides go into pineal gland, that secret organ, the eye of Horus and eye of Ra go into, and the part of the brain. All these symbolisms with the pine cone and the statues, the ability to project from your third eye as if it's like a projector in your mind, daydreaming concept, and creating and programming that. A lot of people have calcified pineal glands because of toxins in the environment like fluoride in the water and a lot of aluminum and lead and a lot of things that like will try to go to the blood-brain barrier as we eat those toxic things. After you're done with getting good with vision, go into dream technology and daydreaming things into being, imagination, envision and feel into the truth of what your reality dream as it is, and examine with emotional translation. Your empath ability combined with dream. Compare and contrast the dream of the truth as it is and the daydream of what you imagine is possible. The best version, purified, whole, peaceful, and love. Fade out the old dream, the nightmare. Reclaim energy from that. De-empower that from existing and bring that empowerment back to the daydream, empower that, start, like once you've realized what the problem is, you no longer have to focus on it because you've gained the wisdom of it, the dark rabbit hole, the dark truth. Now fade it out of existence, do not give it power, and bring in the daydream with greater light and HDness, brighter and brighter, empowering and supportfulness, and to where you feel it empathically as it comes true, to releasing until you release all doubt that the nightmare has faded in the background. Depending on what you're doing, it depends how much time and effort you put into this and how much blocks, literal doubt is a literal block you feel in your heart 360 degrees. And that bilocation of the vision, one fading out, one fading in, is this scenario. And there's a little description on how to lucid dream for people. It's mostly going into, you have to be extremely still and you're gonna get impulses to itch when going to sleep. Do not scratch yourself. It's the body asking if you're still awake, and if you don't respond, it will start going to sleep paralysis. And if you're still in waking state while it goes into sleep paralysis, you can more easily go out of body and even go into lucid dreaming if you're in that deep state of delta. This goes into some advanced stuff, so I'm not expecting many people to do this. There's not many examples of people that are activated into temporal warping, but there are many scales of this ability, so I'm not just talking about the full-on time travel. Consciousness time travel example, you don't have to leave where you are, but your consciousness can travel back and forth and through time, and that goes into retro causality, retro psychokinesis. You're able to affect the outcome of an experiment that's put in a vault, and the person forward in time like goes back and tries to influence the outcome of what's in the vault, and it's been done with great success. Using timeline consciousness travel to integrate memory, having to do with time, the Akashic field, revisit, retrieve memory, experience the events. This kind of goes into, if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, the warg ability, and the three-headed raven concept, that's the same thing. The warg goes more into you interacting in a consciousness of animal body though. Time, energy, and the time body in accumulation, timeline transmutation, more abilities into that, and making it so that somebody's timeline, if it's being incurred on, like if you were to see somebody that doesn't like somebody and then putting a bunch of vile energy at them carrying that empathic data and it affecting them, especially if it's a lasting wound. Those wounds are in the timeline. That's part of releasing timeline incursions until it's freed up and all the wounds are gone. There's also a bunch of mystery schools into time abilities that I recommend if you go into. This is a very sought after ability. That's one of the abilities that are most stolen because the things dark can abuse with it. So it can really screw up the timeline, which is why it takes a lot to earn them. There's a school of reversal that goes into how to reverse events. I've even seen practitioners and healers go to the level in this school to where they can reverse blindness. The process they describe is taking somebody's timeline of a person's eye, going back to the original wound, replacing the timeline that exists with a timeline of preferred outcome where they're no longer blind, and it fractally changing the structure of the eye. Very intriguing. There's a practitioner in Israel that's national treasure that is one of the users of this. There's also no time fields, which you can create a field around you of separation from other points of time that can make it so that your programs, initiations, interactions with magic and programs function at greater speeds or slower speeds, whatever is needed. Like temporal dilations. Time vision, going into that, like seeing what's going on in the timeline. Going into warp speed as an ability where you increase how fast it takes to do an outcome, like magic. It's time healing, timeline repair, timeline incursion prevention, tracking things through time, temporal dilations, temporal compressions, repairing paradoxes, time tree branches of the multiverse, feeling into being oneness with that, being time itself, all time, no time, perfect timing and momentary being, and getting out of the future, which brings us anxiety, getting out of the past, which brings us depressing energy, and being in the moment where all time naturally exists, because it's kind of an illusion and it's based on the rotation movement of celestial bodies. Oh, let's meet up next time the moon's distance in the sky or whatever, and a social agreement. But it does have an occurrence in a natural foundation of flow of how reality and events happen, and is alterable to perspective and relativity, flowing into empowerment, balancing and maintaining of time, fabric, and all around it. There's soft disclosure into these in shows like the Adjustment Bureau, Time Cops, many shows that go into like, oh, beings that have gained this awareness technology and are wanting to protect the timeline, whether it be through psionic abilities or physical. If you wanted to go down the rabbit hole of this and how it exists in reality, I put a little image there of an ode to Andrew Bashago. If you want to look up his research into the military projects of Project Pegasus, Project Looking Glass, which goes into a technology that taps into the residual frequency of the past and the potential frequency in the field that holds of all potentials of the future. A device that taps into that, they eventually made how to bring that onto a screen. They started with big scale ones. They tried to reverse engineer the pineal gland in a big technology that kind of looks like this rotating sphere that's in the movie Contact. That has gone into bigger projects such as what Nikola Tesla did in Project Philadelphia, where he went into teleportation, which is also soft disclosed in the movie Prestige, and the military going into using that and compartmentalizing that into secret projects and not sharing it with the public. Reality warpers in many ways for that. And also scrying the old magicians of the past. The Magi would use like crystal balls and scrying bowls and other things to make a window of reflection that they could see into and program to give them data of the future or the past. Spatial warping. So the reality rules for the planet are interesting. They have changed throughout history. It was way easier to do this type of thing anciently, and then after the wounds of Earth, she shut down a lot of the bigger abilities from manifesting for a lot of people unless they're able to hold up the responsibility of it, which goes into individual graduation and them being able to have that in focus and be able to do it with enough effort. The reality rules will change. There's a thing around our culture where we're being forced to face our shadow and learn how to take our power back and freedom from things that we've given it away to throughout time, and release the parasite that's holding us back and trying to steal our abilities as a up-and-coming psionic potential species. So when humanity awakens to take off their spiritual and physical slavery limits, huge abilities will manifest faster in existence as these interesting children are born into this new world at a time when less things are able to constantly try to steal things from us. The healing of Earth kind of goes into this and her out of this wounded state, and again, like, brings the magic back. Magnetism in this ability feels like you're embracing, like lovers, your current of space and the space you wish to jump to in the quantum jump, and you becoming one with that, like as two lovers joining, and the removal of all doubt and limitation that show that's not. You can use action, ceremony, your voice, mind, the force, and unity with all forces in space to like bring more potential to this. Eventually, space reality warping will lead to things like teleportation, portals, dimensional travel, psychokinetic translocation, soft disclosed in like things like the movie Jumper or in the Magician's Travelers. Yes, we actually do have this DNA inheriting to us. We have a super technology that we've inherited. We've inherited something that records the library of every species on the planet and re-updates with what's on the planet. There's the energy that your DNA holds from what's on the planet and what your DNA lineage actually contains in physical breeding, which is a little bit more important and solidified, but you can still download also other genetic information from your spirit from other lives and change your DNA in the body with more abilities that you had from other lifetimes the DNA doesn't have. If you don't have this particularly, it's mostly shut down. We were like inherited a Ferrari, but it's like got all these problems and engine failure and broken windows and slashed tires, so we got to repair it, otherwise it's a paperweight. And some rare DNA technology also goes into this space control. It holds teleportation blueprints. What is real and what is not real? We only see 0.00005% of all energy that's in any given space. Imagine what it'd be like if we could see all of it, or even more of it turned up. There are states of being that have happened to people where they are able to see more. What is real? It's like having objective, independent existence, authentic, true, genuine, in the right is the definition usually applied. I found that real energy is usually made up of source energy, time, space, life, light, dark, will, knowing, truth, and foundation, base energy. And base reality is a big part of that. Elon Musk went into the concept that it is a higher likelihood that this is not base reality and that we're in some type of light holographic simulation. I go into the idea that even though this sounds like computery and stuff, the hologram of our bodies as it is a super advanced holographic quantum computer, and same thing with the planet. It doesn't have to be seen as like, oh, we're in a giant computer, a more advanced thing than that. And the same thing with the layers of what is real. It usually goes along with what the territory you're in. So this Earth hologram is less real than the solar hologram that contains within it, in like layers of realities within, holding space. And then the galaxy hologram within that contains that, and so on universally. And each of those has a form of real energy and unreal energy, and that goes into what continues and exists beyond what's in the unseen to the seen. We can earn real energy, realness, being our real self, being true to ourselves, deep within, going. You can also get more into your inner Neo and attempt to program into your base reality programming of, it's kind of like if you were to imagine the version of you dreaming you that came before, and as if you're the dreaming body for that base self, and you bring it into where you're more in lucidity. And what is lucidity? Seeing the truth, bringing things and making things that you want in the dream, bringing lucidity to this dream by seeing it as a dream, just with deeper rules, and it's more difficult, and many other forms of chess games that are going on that need to be. There is no spoon. The spoon is you. You are everything, such as with the spoon boy reference in the Matrix and the spoon bending concept. You cannot simply just bend the spoon. It's impossible. You must simply see the truth. There is no spoon. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by the brain. And like going more into these images are the holograms of the multiverse, the galaxy, the Earth, the universe, the macro clusters, and how it kind of goes up and down, as above, so below, micro, macro. The brain cells, the neurons, look pretty much exactly the same as the tendrils of energy that flow throughout the universe. And it goes up and down similarly in the space between atoms. And yeah, it goes into reference for quantum computers and the potential of what they will create in new layers of realities and spaces of less real, but having a degree of what is real in definition. Being at the center of everything. And when I say this, I don't mean in the egocentric concepts of this. You want to be in your absolute center of your heart, of the center of infinity, within all, as if you're feeling into being everything. Absolute center oneness with everything, everyone merged back in time, one within all. Make a super unity remedy solution to anything quick, as an example, is what this is good for. Seeing everything as you, it does matter. Everything matters. There's a reason for all these things. Negative emotions, attachment, and knowing what's real, all these have reasons, and if you find out what, it makes things much easier, and suffering can just transform. What is real, what is not real, staying balanced on your quest to find truth is how you go through this. Being one with source, and when I say this, this is the nugget of truth below all beliefs, going into like why anyone would value wanting to be egocentric or feel like they're the center of the universe. Releasing the ego from that, seeing yourself as one. It's not nihilism and it's not solipsism, more expanded than that. And it doesn't allow things to like get that into a state of, oh, I must think of everything else as my mind, and so those things external to me are not important. No, they are, and they're not just you. It's like ultimately in energy they all go back to the same source, but there's a lot of free will in between. They all branched off and wanted to be their own player in the multiplayer game that we're in. So allowing their free will and empathizing, seeing them as you so that you would not do them harm, which goes into how people that have their emotional body shut down and are able to abuse others are in a constant state of forgetting that they are everything. Everyone gets a unity trade, purity healing, if they wish to be a part of the free will unity in their rules and boundaries to that in their awareness bubble. Becoming one with everything. Become one with Earth, become one with the sun, galaxy, universe, multiverse, and beyond if necessary, depending on what you're doing, to unite all involved and bring all opposition, force to peace, to jump the timeline in an harmonious flow that's agreed upon. Be everyone, be all in love and its continued growth and expansion. Unity consciousness. And like I said before, unity is what true power is. I am all, I am everyone. Everyone is an interesting word if you were to think into what it is to be everyone. Agreement to maintain timeline factors of truth. All collectives united, unite in true power, release separation consciousness, lessons and events all the beings want to have agreed upon in unity. Unity consciousness with all in unconditional love, with balance, maintaining great peace, love, healing, detachment from beings in separation consciousness that forgot they are everyone, and degree of internal drama, war, control, darkness, shadow, suffering, overwhelm, and negative programs until they resolve themselves and don't step past your boundaries. That's the thing you're separating from. Source energy. Everyone is all one. Source connection in your heart, 0 points. Internal power versus external power. This is the real internal power, but it's also external. But you know, source is everything. Connection to source stream, source of all energy and consciousness, whatever you believe it is. There are many that will have different faces on it, and within that free will, it allows all those perspectives and in harmony for their expanse and growth that they choose. It feels like love, oneness, wholeness, being, knowing, truth, very powerful and also peaceful. Merging with source, let go of all that is not you. Let go to fit through the eye of the needle, like we said before, in the heart. Detach of all earthly attachments and suffering. Surrender all limitations and things that are not your pure self, keeping you from being everything. This is also demonstrated with engagement in source energy with beings on the divinity path. The words ascension or great work, Christ consciousness, the Devi, the divine, the demigods, deities and beings attempting in like lower G God form to be on this path, as an example. Not all that say they are these and gods are, though, so be careful. Sources have sources. Interesting concept, I know, but if you were thinking of the source that came into existence and it'd be under its goals of to know thyself and consciousness expansing and being all perspectives, it's also dealing with some interesting things it's inherited in shadow that's resolving, and abandonment issues from the source that created it that it's seeking to find, and kind of going back in this interesting space of what is real beyond words, really. Source within all sources is deep within you. So if you want to unify and resolve and bring to peace things, sit into that. Feel like you're the center of this big explosion, and all these branches, including the branch that becomes you, the branch that is the thing that's in argument or competition or attacking you or whatever, and feel into what it takes to bring those branches to peace, into awareness and remedy to where they are no longer in drama. Going back to your origin and source is how you find peace. This has been stated by many masters of the past. It's shown in the many paintings of the light within the heart, such as with Christ consciousness, Yahshua Emmanuel, going into the I am and the I am presence. And here's going into something interesting, something that's possibly even older than source itself. Truth. Part of the equation for quantum jumping, bringing truth in, feeling it become true. Feeling what it takes to push it to unity, coming true. Shining light of truth from your heart into focus to learn truth. I can't tell you what truth is. I can barely tell you beyond what is in this presentation. You have to seek it out yourself and know it. Truth doesn't always feel good. It will not always resonate with you. Truth can hurt. It can break through the walls of lies and dogmas that we're born into, and it can feel uncomfortable, especially when we've held such strong beliefs before. But these are necessary to face because they are some of the greatest growths we can have in the life. Emotions can sense truth, but they're not often good at it, especially with emotional data that we're holding on to from the past, coming in and changing the now. And this can be used against us to control us in a way and navigate how we react to things. And if we're completely at the whim of our emotions, we have chaos happening around us. And this is a form of control that I call emotional mind control. Emotion sensing into what is truth the best they can. If people are in emotional mind control, this keeps people ignorant because they have a hard time maintaining high frequencies of love against challenge and discomfort from energy of the ego and wounds that we hold and the ego boundaries that are programmed to maintain our bubble of reality, and anything that threatens that, it gets very uncomfortable. And only when we're willing to transmute that and behold, to allow ourselves to see past what our ego and our emotions are telling us, can we see beyond these veils of emotional mind control to these dark truths and use them to bring us more into light. Belief that focusing on dark makes more of it. This has been permeated through the New Age community, and it's got some truths, because in the law of attraction concept, what you think of and feel attracts more of it. People believe if you focus on darkness, it makes more of it. This is only true if you choose to remain in the victim state of powerlessness, to not be able to transmute the darkness that already exists within you, because what you're going to be feeling isn't necessarily the external thing and true beliefs and concepts coming to you. It's going to be something you already hold. And when we transmute that darkness we already hold that's being exposed by the external trigger, we release anything's external darkness's ability. And if it is able to control that, brings people to ignorance, to feel they need to bury that darkness deep down inside in hopes that it goes away, always in the pursuit of happiness and never looking at the darkness, which is necessary. If you want to live in a world without suffering, without psychopaths, without rapists, and people doing egregious acts, you have to face those dark truths and find solutions for them. Stress causes great evolution. Be okay with getting out of your comfort zone if you want to grow fast. Feel into reality in neutral. You want truth. Do energetically in background what it takes with your higher self and your source and the unity collective to manifest desired outcomes as true. If in alignment with everyone, feel into truth in neutral state of being, of what you want. Feel into reality in a neutral state of being not wanting something as an outcome, you wanting truth. Doing energetically in the background what it takes to have it become true, and not just you believing it. You uniting with your higher self, source, and the unity collectiveness of the hologram to manifest that desired outcome as truth. And if they're in alignment with everyone, it will work. If not, then you need to feel into that closely and what it is, and then bring that to unity. Or if it has no actual authoritative vote that's in realness, then you can revoke it. Release all doubt. This doubt is an actual blockage. It shows what's holding it back from becoming true. Full completion of full effortless confidence and love while facing and feeling into the reality of the subject in present. Root, grounding, and anchoring in the timeline. Once you've had the setup for all the other stuff, bringing it in and lock it in. Root consciousness, part of our being that like sets up for the rest of our accumulation of wisdom. The root chakra, the legs, those chakras, meridians, the earth, people call it the earth star, whatever you want to call it. It's like a processor the earth gives us. Our connection to the earth's heart, root and grounding tech goes into this. Anchoring in a strong foundation connection of this shift in the earth, making it real here now, adding real energy to it. Unity with everything to bring anchor to great strength. Speak to the trees. They have the wisdom. They do have heart telepathy as well, so you can feel into them and connect to their hearts. Practice listening to them, and as well speaking through your heart to them. Eventually you will hear something if you're out there long enough. This also goes into what I have in the background with the world trees, the tree of Yggdrasil, and tree of life, light, death, good and evil, different realms, ways to see things, and the metaphors of tree and the tree of DNA that we have. There are also the concept of those big giant trees in Avatar, and the red forest trees. There have been even bigger trees in the past when the oxygen on the planet was much more flourishing. I am not going to say if they exist on this realm. They totally exist on other realms though, still, and they're quite good at manifesting protection to keep them going, and they can appear to you in dreams and teach you well. Ask for your tree teacher to come to you, able to teach you of the technology you hold within to ground your whole reality. And then once you've anchored all this in, if you have the ability to check the records in what is real in the Akashic, to compare and contrast what has been manifest with what you actually want, and staying neutral and looking at it from many different angles and ways to feel into energy, so that you have the ability to confirm what you did actually made a difference and is manifested as real, not just for your bubble of reality, but is agreed to in the quilt blanket of multiplayer hologram of the multiplayer game of this reality. Daydream the information true of what is manifest, and resolve any contesting realities. Like in the future, if there are things that want to come back in time and like, oh, I don't want that to happen, they try to uncreate it, concepts. You're in the Akasha, you're able to see back and forward in time and be able to protect that to make it stronger and solid in time from any future attempts. Let us unite to help the world and its people to heal. Thank you so much for coming. Here are my contacts if you wish to reach me. I'm at psionicleague.com. I'm also at quantumbusinessman.com, magicmiraclemassage.massagetherapy.com, and my YouTube is Psionic League. I have many different plans for the future. Explore, grow, make books, videos, make a school eventually with people, and expand into this. My vision for the future is a paradise in unity and wholeness and peace, with huge growth and everyone working together, doing what they love and bringing their talents to the world. And like if the question gone into, what would you do if money was no object? What do you love? Follow that passion. I also like to invest in projects to teach people psionic abilities to help this world in solving their problems they face and adding to life to enrich it. I love you all very much. Thank you for being with us. And here's a video about being alive. And thank you all for coming.
Like a hero, but I can't fly. No, you never crash if you don't try. Took it to the edge, now I know I'm never gonna live if you're too scared to die. Gonna disconnect from the hard wire. Time to raise a flag for the ceasefire. Staring down the hole inside me, looking in the mirror, making peace with the enemy. Make it on a wish if you want to. Open up my heart like a shotgun, blinded by the light of a new sun. Get up, get up, get out, get done. For the first time I feel like someone, breaking down the walls in my own mind, keeping my faith for the bad times. Get up, stand like a champion. Take it to the world, gonna sing it like an anthem. Don't tell me how it feels, I'll find it on my own. Never gonna live if you're too scared to die. I'm so alive, I'm so alive, I'm so alive. You can make it on a wish if you want to. You can make it on a wish if you want to. I'm so alive, I'm so alive, I'm so alive. You can make it on a wish if you want to. You can make it on a wish if you want to. I'm so alive, I'm so alive, I'm so alive.
And welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that little break there. We had a couple technical difficulties in the background. Sean, what an amazing and interesting presentation you did there. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, great job. Yeah, you're muted too, by the way. Yeah, excellent job.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
It's always good to have so many different perspectives and such a calming voice. I never could talk that calmly.
No,
So
your
true.
voice is activating on a whole nother level. So, appreciate all the stuff you're holding up for everyone. Gosh.
But yeah, I appreciate it, man. We're doing our best over here. We really, really are. We got a question for Preliminal. And I got to say, I like this question. You covered a lot of stuff in a little amount of time comparatively. How does everything you covered really apply to everyday life?
Psionically, you can overlay every action you do. It's just like an amplification of the knowingness of what it is and the action, what it can accomplish. Like working out, you can put a bunch of your energy towards building your strength or even manifesting or making yourself feel better or anything that your belief system allows you to expand into. So quantum jumping, gets them to the timeline they want to perceive, and they can even, it's the Mandela effect itself in a macro scale and user base that even applies to big things.
Okay. Moneybags asks, why has the sabotage of Black Tom Island made it into our awareness at this time? Nobody I have asked has ever heard of it, he says.
Black Tom Island. Where is that at?
Black Tom Island is the one that was the reason the Statue of Liberty's closed down.
The reason, okay, I haven't like gone into this, so I haven't read it into it before. Can you let me know about like what's going on?
And I appreciate your honesty. Appreciate your honesty there. So,
I don't know.
according to history now, and a lot of us in the community don't remember, Black Tom Island is where Germans invaded an American island and blew up a weapons depot, if I'm not mistaken. And this explosion was so big that it damaged the Statue of Liberty. And actually, this is the reason that nobody can go up into the torch, I believe it is now. So why would that have come into our awareness? Clearly, you've not even heard of it. Like Moneybag says, most everyone he's asked has never heard of it.
I could read into that for you if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
So like before I get into that, like I have to so to activate my state of consciousness, because whatever, I'll go into like a little bit of breath work and stuff if you want to go into it. I also feel, I don't know about you, but the huge elephant in the room, I don't know if you guys feel that on your heart.
Well, if you want to bring some up, go ahead, bud. The floor is yours.
No, I mean, like empathically, there's a lot going on. It kind of felt like giving birth to me, but like energetically. And then I had to like do a whole bunch of like stretching and yoga, like all today. It's like pretty interesting. Did that happen was it taxing on your guys' presentations?
I wouldn't say it was really taxing for me. I've never really given a presentation like that before. Surprisingly enough, of all the stuff I've done, I've never given a conference presentation. So it was more taxing to the point of, am I going to mess this up? Is this going to be accepted? Will people like this? Will people just trash what I'm saying? And it was really nerve-wracking, I got to say.
I agree. Yeah. So I'm sure audience would appreciate a like guided going into of how to release the blocks on the psychic ability, because there's a literal ceiling of eyes all around that tries to entangle with what's going on here, because you guys are changing the future. So the goal into it is turn on your love in your heart and feel into the wall that has been put up in a attempt to block the power that's going on in each individual, to putting in doubt, like, oh no, you can't do this, all that kind of stuff. Feel into the wall as a fractal of yourself, but not going into the external, but the internal aspect already in yourself. Mm-hmm. And feel into that, give that love, because it's reflecting a lot of projections onto us of what we are, what will become, how we're affecting things. Everyone can do what they want. We don't want to control anyone and their beliefs. It's all about free will and expanding into that, because each one of us in our own perspective is doing a grand thing for the entire world, and never want to stop you in your journey and what you want to do. And if we can all come together and talk and maintain this like connectivity that allows for our free will and our individuality and our ability to detach from the drama of others and the dirty energy as we go within, because you can go into unity consciousness and detach from everything at the same time, and into unity consciousness, your source, connecting back to that big tree, going back infinite, bringing love, peace, unity to the tree branches that have forgotten that they are you, that we're all working to find out what's truth. And it's okay. It's okay if everyone's wrong. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
for
let me ask you, but before we appreciate that, Sean. Let me ask you before we get too far off here. It's the question kind of goes with what you've been saying so far. Do you think the Schumann resonance is positive or negative on affecting our DNA?
Oh, that's a great question. The Schumann resonance is a concept of energy frequency that its sources are being up to debate, including lightning fields that are constantly going around in the Pacific and also the Atlantic, and that also the Earth itself.
It's like 93 a second or something, I think, isn't it? So isn't it like 93 lightning strikes per second around the world or something like that? It's like ridiculous.
On average, it is, yeah.
Right, yeah.
On average, like 90 to 100 some odd, yeah.
Yep. That's crazy. Just so to put it in perspective.
So understanding what the Schumann is, how does it affect the DNA?
Oh, it's massively evolving everything. It's an energetic surge. It's like when you're charging up, the Earth doing it itself. Being able to maintain more lightning strikes around the planet all at once at any given time is it being able to hold up a greater capacity. Same thing that fractally goes down to our cellular makeup and everything within the field. It's pretty amazing, especially if you sync up with it, and especially if you feel into that charge that's emitting throughout the planet and like the causations of it. If there's the chess game of you wanting to spur more to happen once you know it's very evolving, it's better that there are happening more of this. Then you can find the places of power on the planet that go into if this was more energetic in its output, there would be more charge built up.
Places of power, you mean like Sedona, for instance? Would that be like a place of power you're referencing?
Yeah, for a lot of things. I don't know specifically for the Schumann resonance there, because a lot of the places of power, as they communicate to me, they allow me to know ones that I've earned, and I earn more. As for an instant, the ones I'm allowed to share that are a Schumann resonance amplifier that you can go to energetically, there's a mountain in the center of Iceland that is a really good one, as well as in Spain, I think the Canary Islands.
Let me steer this back around here, if I may. So all this information, the timeline jumping, the quantum jumping, this kind of got really in depth and really, really, really information packed and filled. How would this relate to Mandela effect as far as like waking up tomorrow and I don't know, I have a mobile Nokia phone opposed to a Samsung? How would that like affect changing reality itself? Would that be quantum jumping? Like, how would that really?
So if you're going into your quantum jumping abilities more, which I recommend people at their pace, because nobody's asking anyone to do anything that they're afraid of. And it even is a literal definition of how to get out of fear emotionally. Even if you like, these are all a culmination of what I've tuned into that I've recorded from blueprints of many people that have accumulated and found a jumping ability in some way, and may have called it different things, and their experience on that, and pieced it all together in a way that can really get anyone there. To get out of a negative reality where if you've ever felt you've gone down too many, like my path is not to be afraid to go down dark rabbit holes because they're truth too. But I have definitely been in a time where I thought everything was being destroyed, that my reality path is being manipulated, and things are happening negative around me, and had to put effort into getting out of that. So I like balancing light and dark rabbit holes as you go down. Otherwise, you get more into one or the either. And same thing with the light, because they'll have the new age path that can have so many different things, and it's not like all true, because everyone wants something to be true, and it's not about that. It's about finding that center point of truth that is every perspective working together to put all the pieces together and not hate on each other, because that's the division points. And those can be scrutinized with great value to see that this was put as some Machiavellianism divide and conquer strategy that get everyone fighting each other and believing what they believe. And it's good to believe something new and your own path and choose with 100% free will. No one wants to take that away from you. Just stop fighting other people. That is the game that's going on. It's how we win. If you feel like you're trapped here and you can't escape, challenge the cage. You can escape. If you want to get out, you have the whole game is mechanism of keeping it as it is everyone eventually coming to unity and saying we don't need the cage anymore. And we want to create a new paradigm.
And in today's day and age, I tell you, we need coming together in unity more than we need anything in this world. It seems like they're trying to rip each other apart limb for limb sometimes. What is happening? So this really kind of goes back into your whole thing. What is happening during the instant download that people seem to receive? So, you know, when you're telling somebody Mandela about, have you ever had this where you're telling somebody about a Mandela effect, right? You talk to people about Mandela effects, right? Yeah. Okay, so you ever had this where you're talking to people about it and you say, hey, man, you ever heard of Jiffy peanut butter? And then all of a sudden they get this download and they will tell you the entire Wikipedia page for Jiffy or Jif as it is. What is happening in these download moments?
Oh, that's a really cool question. So describing the Mandela effect community and perceiver effect is not easy, so I'll do the best I can. And this is my perception, so I don't want to impose my beliefs on anyone. But if I were to answer this question to the best of my ability, and maybe had some psychic abilities or consciousness stuff, whatever, my answer would maybe be something like, people that are observing this are of great value and awareness and are needed for a multitude of tasks. Everyone here right now is needed. If any one person was taking out at any given time that they weren't supposed to, there would be disarray. And so there's a management process to that in bringing the people the way they need to be on the timeline, anchoring, resolving everything that they got going on, including an interaction with the editing perspective of time, which goes into a garden creation of conceptualized, oh, what if this person makes all these types of choice points, and then seeing where it goes and advances. And those in that conceptualized space of being able to grow and flourish in like teaching skills, wisdom, schools. What would happen if I turned right, or if I never died, or all these things. And then based on their value, their increase of their flourishing as a flower to cultivation, where it could then go into either a merging state with the timeline that we're on in maintenance, the purposeful, goal-oriented graduation of all individuals in a quilt of perception, light.
So let me stop you right there.
Fast.
So we're getting off a little bit on the deep side here. I want to bring it back a little bit surface level. So I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to my buddy, and he gets the download. Why did he get that download?
It can be a variety of different ways that it started, but it would be he was meant to. It would be that he's working with beings or guides or his higher self or source itself, or a downloading mechanism of causation that goes into, oh, this person needs to get inspired in this orientation to make this timeline work. Or it could be their plan all along. If the game player came in through the amnesia barrier with that already as a plan, or if it's a new plan, that would be going into that. if the person got the download, they're like, oh, I'm remembering the other timeline. Oh man, why would somebody want, why would the timeline want people to remember? It wakes them up more, it makes them pay attention. It causes, it's like a freeing of a mental cage. It's like a very significant moment all at once. And it's like their brain turns on more light more fully, and they're able to access something with great need to, because of a challenge, and challenges and stress in all these different ways. And this is a new way to challenge evolution that you guys have found.
So do you think that this creates two different groups of people then? Those that get the download and accept it, and those that get the download and do not? Do you think we all get the same, quote, download? Sorry, I had to throw that one in there for myself, guys.
That's a expansive question too. With the many different.
Well, let me start a really simple question, because I kind of threw three at you there at once. Do you think everyone gets this? A yes or no? Right.
I gotta look at the information real quick.
So, do you think everyone gets the download? That's just yes or no on that.
That's a cool way to put that. I like how you ask questions. So our environmental awareness is always sending and receiving data, and whether we're aware of it or not, we're downloading, we're evolving, we're resolving things. Just being here second by second, you're doing loads of things. You're like an anchor into like this higher going around version of you maintaining or doing what you're good at, while you seek to bring more of your true self in and live that through this advanced DNA technology that that makes everything that we are even greater. It's just kind of broken down, and we got to repair it. And then go into, I'm remembering other versions of myself or things going into that, and I'm able to cultivate all these awarenesses, ideas.
So you think that we all get the download then? So you think we all take the download at some point or another? Now, that said, do you think there are people,
the right one that gets that full into their awareness? Because like you're trying to get past the super consciousness, the subconscious triggers, and that sweet spot that you guys found, that just the right Mandela effect that makes them question all the reality. That like gets deep to the conscious, and that makes a huge bridge that is calling out for truth to them find deeper.
So it sounds like you're saying that it's not the download, it's a download. Is that more where everybody's downloading like different streams?
The peak download.
Right. Yeah. So you want the optimal download. So there is choices even within the download. Because I've noticed the whole parallel memory thing happen too. So I've gotten the download. I just have retained the original timeline as well. And many times I don't know which one came first. Yeah.
Does it feel like you're older and you have more, you've opened up the gate of information and processing from that other, there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. I'm not trying to say it's just this, but sometimes it's like increasing your hard drive capacity to process in the supercomputer your data, and there's a lot that just switches with that. Those moments, that the in the zone moments are a good example of that. But you found a key that unlocks a different perception aspect of it.
That's cool. Yeah, Moneybags was actually asking another question, just to get your opinion on it. What message is being sent to the Christian community with all the Bible changes that we've seen? What do you think that? What do you think it's saying?
Can you repeat the beginning of that question real quick?
Yeah, I will. What message is being sent to the Christian community with all of the Bible, Christian Mandela effect community, with all the Bible changes that have been put into the Bible? What kind of message is being given to them?
Okay, again, so this is my, I'll reiterate, because I'm not trying to say my truth is the truth. So take it as you will. And because I know this is a subject that I'll be very triggered for a lot. So take what you will and take out what you don't want, all that. So Bible has so much going on. It's an amazing multidimensional codex of interaction that has a large amount of imprinted truth in it, and then a war going on in the entire book over what is passing it down, including what the Vatican's trying to do with it, and them taking out many of the previous volumes in it, and then slow editing changes that have happened throughout it, which it has been affected through time, both by the positive and negative. The negative that's the war. They're trying to war over what's in the maintaining of the timeline that affects people awakening, because it has such a deep impact on so many people. So I'd empower people that are Christian to go deeper into the truth in Christianity. There are more esoteric, going back deeper, not just scratching the surface aspects of Christianity that decode the Bible into many aspects. And that has many different layers of perception. It can be used as an incredible enfreement tool, but also the dark, which their chess move is to box people in, which is what the definition of a religion, to tie back, hold, bind. It's spirituality. It needs to be expanded in free will of the individual and not bully someone into a belief. Otherwise, it's probably got something to hide, because it's passing down a cycle of trauma to unwittingly received by the other person. It's got a lot of positive stuff in it. I recommend mostly like writing down in the war of your awareness of the reality, what is absolutely the most likely to be true statements of authors in the Bible, such as Jesus, and going through the apostles, and then the more questionable apostles, and then the other introductions of how things have been introduced in the dark chess move, which is, I recommend people wanting to take back the Bible for peace and unity consciousness and Christ consciousness collective of going back to their source, their peace through their heart. And
so let's not get too far off the original question here. So let me ask you, what was, I'm going to bring it down really, 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 really stupid, simple. I apologize. What was your Mandela effect? What made you see Mandela effect was real? What was yours?
My childhood house changing entirely, not like the house itself, but like the field, not the meadow not existing, there being weird places around it, and it was a weird feeling going back to that. But a bunch of the ones you guys experienced, like the Bernstein Bears, I remember that. I remember fighting for it. I'd be like, "This is bullshit. What the fuck?"
Can we get some censorship here, please? I cannot allow that, sir. I do apologize. I cannot allow that in my chat. I cannot allow that on my screen. I am so sorry. Please try to watch our language here.
Sorry,
all right,
Amanda.
I completely understand, but we got to be careful. This is a kid-friendly situation. So, my apologies, chat and everybody watching. How long have you been studying the Mandela effect?
When I was waking up to going through science, I also explained this in the presentation that I will release later. That's 2 hours. With all these effects happening to me, weird spatial and spiritual reality shifts going on, and empathic intense moments that I don't really want to go into right now. But
How many years have you been looking into it? Like, how long have you been studying just the Mandela effect?
mostly after I met Chris Sinatra, the quantum businessman. But because he's very passionate about it, and it brought me more into the focus of it, because I had like a million focuses going on. But when it started first affect me in my awakening journey, I had to dig into this. I've had to like detach my room from things incurring like in pain in my body, like intense teeth pain and like weird, like all around muscles, like flaring up pain. Like it's kind of like indescribable. And so to where that forced me to be like, oh, this is a make or break moment. I might die. And then attempt to, the Schrodinger's cat came in my mind. So like, oh, what if you can detach everything that is not observable from observed? And then I was able to focus on that for a time, and it worked, and all the pain went away. And I was like, holy shit, thank you. And yeah, so I'm trying to be light about it. But yeah, so that got me into like, oh, you can shift things around and it's not all stable. And then seeing it happen more and more got pretty addicting. It's
And that is the last question for this Q&A, guys. We're going to go ahead and take a 1 hour break. Do remember, and I must remind everybody, IMEC does not necessarily represent any views of any particular speaker whatsoever. IMEC is only to bring you this information. It's for you to decide whether you like it, believe it, or not. It's completely up to you. We merely bring the information to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 1 hour break. We will be back here in about 1 hour, 3/4 after the hour, 45 after the hour. We will return. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Jerry Hicks. On behalf of IMEC and everybody involved, we thank you, and we shall be back. Thank you guys very much.